Dear student, hope you are doing well. Today I am going to take a class for the 910 Biology Chapter 4 and the topic is bioenergetics. We have learned some basic about photosynthesis from our previous class, and today we'll learn the first phase of photosynthesis, the light dependent phase. So, revise from the last class. What is photosynthesis? This is the process by which autotrophic organisms use light energy to make sugar and oxygen gas from carbon dioxide and water. It occurs in plants, algae, and some prokaryotes. It's anabolic, that means small molecules combined it. Androgenic, that means stores energy and stores as carbohydrate in their bodies. Photosynthesis has been divided to two phases. One is light dependent stage and another is light independent stage. And light dependent stage, another divided by two parts. One is cyclic photophosphorylation and another is non-cyclic photophosphorylation. From this diagram, we can know that the main theme of light dependent phase is phosphorylation, and that should be done with the help of photo or light. So some basic of light reaction. In generally, we can tell that light dependent phase reactions take place in the thylakoid membrane with the pigment of chlorophyll absorbing sunlight. And the energy from sunlight breaks water into hydrogen ion, oxygen and electrons. Hydrogen ion and electrons are used to produce energy carrying molecule NADPH and ATP. One can think of light-dependent reaction as a way to increase the free energy to the system and the light-independent reaction as a way to convert that new free energy into the bonds of glucose. This increased free energy made available to the system. This free energy can be used in three ways. One, to build the chemiosmotic or proton gradient. Number two, generate ATP. Number three, reduce NADPH. There are two ways to generate ATP. One is non-cyclic photophosphorylation and another is cyclic photophosphorylation. These two systems differ in route taken by the light-activated electrons and in some of the products formed. The goal of photosynthesis is to form high-energy sugars. This requires transforming light energy into usable chemical energy. ATP is formed by this process. First, we have to learn about the photophosphorylation, the production of ATP using energy derived from the redox reaction of an electron transport chain. So, photophosphorylation is the process of creating ATP using a proton gradient created by the energy gathered from the sunlight. And chemiosmosis is the process of using proton movement to join ADP and inorganic phosphate. This is accomplished by enzymes called ATP synthase or ATPases. So, now we start the details about the states. Light independent reactions occurs in stroma and light dependent reaction occurs in grana. The light reaction converts solar energy to the chemical energy to ATP and NADPH. And chloroplasts are solar powered chemical factories. Their thylakoids transform light energy into the chemical energy of ATP and NADH. So here we can see in this picture that light energy is coming to the chloroplast, that's the granum cycle, its thylakoid, and thylakoid is transforming light energy into chemical energy and forming ATP and NADPH. How it happens? When a chlorophyll molecule in the thylakoid membrane is excited by light, the energy level of electron in its structure is boosted. The packet of excitation energy now migrated rapidly through the light harvesting pigment molecules to the reaction center of the photosystem, where it causes an electron to acquire the large amount of energy. Here we have learned a new word, that is photosystem. Now we are going to discuss about the photosystem. What is photosystem? Photosystem is the light absorbing pigments of thylakoid membranes, and their associated electron carriers are arranged in functional sets or clusters. These clusters are called photosystems. These photosystems can absorb light over the entire visible spectrum, but especially well between 400 to 500 nanometer and 600 to 700 nanometer. Here is a word, visible spectrum. The next slide will be discussed about the visible spectrum. Here we are talking about the light energy. To understand the light energy properly, we need to have some basic discussion about the nature of sunlight. Light is a form of electromagnetic energy. The electromagnetic spectrum is the entire range of electromagnetic energy or radiation. So, here we can see wavelength. Wavelength is the distance between crests or waves. Wavelength determines the type of electromagnetic energy. Here we can see the long wavelength and the short wavelength. Here, wavelength, radio wavelength, microwave length, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays and gamma rays. Radio wavelength light are used to broadcast the radio and television. Microwave used in cooking, radar, telephone and other signals. Infrared are transmitted heat from the sun fires radiators. Visible light, that is video light, makes the things able to seen. And the ultraviolet is absorbed by the skin used in fluorescent tubes. X-rays used in view inside of bodies and objects. Gamma rays used in medicine or killed cancer germs. So this is the nature of sunlight and wavelength, and the different wavelength creating different type of visible light. Now if we divide the visible light, we'll have these colors with different wavelength. The shorter wavelength, higher energy, longer wavelength, lower energy. Here we can see the purple, blue, green are with shorter wavelength, and the red, from orange to red, are longer wavelength. And absorption of chlorophyll. During the fall, the green chlorophyll pigments are greatly reduced, revealing the other pigments. So we can see the violet and blue color, and the yellow and orange color are good for photosynthesis as they can be absorbed by chlorophyll. So we have learned basic things about light energy. Light energy when fell onto photosystem, then after it energized its electrons, and these electrons then transport to electron transport chain. What is electron transport chain? The molecules of the electron transport chains use high energy electrons to push hydrogen ions from the stroma into the inner thylakoid space, and then chlorophyll absorbs light energy and re-energizes the electrons from the photosystem too. NADP picks up these high energy electrons and hydrogen ion to become NADPH. That happens in photosystem 1. Again, chemiosmosis electrical gradients. Hydrogen ions build up inside the thylakoid membrane. High concentration of hydrogen ion inside the membrane that are strong positive charged, and low concentration of hydrogen ion outside the membrane, they are strong negative charge, provides the energy to form ATP. That is the cyclic photophosphorylation part of the first light independent phase. And next comes the step ATP formation. Hydrogen ion work for reach equilibrium, pass through the ATP synthase. Movement of hydrogen ions through the ATP synthase powers ATP production. Next is photosystem 2, that is non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Chlorophyll absorb light, then electrons on a chlorophyll molecule absorb energy from light and become energized. High energy or energized electrons are passed on the electron transport chain. What is electron transport chain? Electrons are passed to pheophytin molecule, then to plastoquinone Qa, then to plastoquinone Qb, then the electron transport chain. Chlorophyll's electrons are replaced by the breakdown of water. Water is broken down into 2 hydrogen ion, oxygen and 2 free electrons. These free electrons are used to replenish chlorophyll's lost electrons, and this process is called photolysis. So what is photolysis? Photolysis of water is an important part of the process of photosynthesis because we know the energy currency which is used in plant is NADPH and ATP. But from where the hydrogen of NADPH comes, it gained by the photolysis of water into hydrogen ions and oxygen. So here is the photohydrolysis. Water is broken down to 2 hydrogen ions that makes NADP to reduce NADPH and 2 free electron that enters to photosystem 2. Oxygen is released on air. So the finishing point of cyclic phosphorylation, we can say that it involves only photosystem 1 at 700 nanometers. End product is ATP only. Here you can see sunlight absorbed by chlorophyll, photosystem 1, the wavelength of 700 nanometer and having 2 energized electron that is forcing ADP to attach with inorganic phosphate to produce ATP. And in non-cyclic photophosphorylation, we can say photosystem 1 and photosystem 2 of different wavelength. They are absorbing solar energy and become energized. Here, free electrons are coming to reduce NADPH to NADP to make reduced NADP that is coming from breaking down of water or photohydrolysis. So, in non-cyclic photophosphorylation, we can say involves 2 photosystems. These photosystems contain chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B as well as accessory pigments. Flow of electron is non-cyclic, uses the photolysis of water, and end product are reduced NADP, ATP and oxygen. So where we can see the total process, that is the chloroplast. This part is granum. Which one is the site of photosystem? Granum are stacks of thylakoids. This is where the pigment chlorophyll absorbs light energy to create energy. So we're seeing the atoms of thylakoids. Chlorophyll pigment atom, this is very fictional. Here sunlight is coming and sun energy is having 2 chlorophyll atoms and electrons of the atoms get excited. Again, the electrons get excited. When the electron party is over, they pass the energy on the NADPH and ATP. So, with the electrons, NADP turns to NADPH and ATP with inorganic phosphate becomes ATP. Again, from sunlight, photosystem 2, light reaction happens and happens photolysis of water that is making free electrons to make NADP reduced. So our target was to making ATP and NADP only stays because they are assimilatory power. So what is assimilatory power? Assimilatory power or assimilatory bodies are those who can give energy when need in any reactions of the cell. Now we'll enjoy a video about the topic.
The process of photosynthesis produces ATP from ADP and PI by using the energy from light to excite electrons that are passed along an electron transport chain. Coupled with the transfer of electrons is the pumping of hydrogen ions and the splitting of water molecules. The following complexes are found in the photosynthesis electron transport chain: photosystem 2, cytochrome B6F, photosystem 1, ferredoxin NADP reductase, and the complex that makes ATP, ATP synthase. In addition to the complexes, 3 mobile carriers are also involved: plastoquinone QB, plastocyanin, and ferredoxin. Other key components include photons, chlorophyll molecules, protons, water, molecular oxygen, NADP, and the electrons to form NADPH, and ADP and PI, which combine to form ATP. Photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplasts of plants and algae. The process is also found in single-cell organisms, such as cyanobacteria, that do not have chloroplasts. Like its mitochondrial counterpart, the chloroplast electron transport chain consists of several protein complexes and mobile electron carriers. First, a photon of light hits a chlorophyll molecule surrounding the photosystem 2 complex. This creates resonance energy that is transferred through neighboring chlorophyll molecules. When this energy reaches the reaction center embedded in photosystem 2, an electron is released. The reaction center chlorophyll contains electrons that can be transferred when excited. 1 photon is needed to excite each of the electrons in this chlorophyll. Once excited, 2 electrons are transferred to plastoquinone QB, the first mobile carrier. In addition to the 2 electrons, QB also picks up 2 protons from the stroma. The 2 electrons lost from photosystem 2 are replaced by the splitting of water molecules. Water splitting also releases hydrogen ions into the lumen. This contributes to a hydrogen ion gradient, similar to the one created by mitochondrial electron transport. After 2 water molecules have been split, 1 molecule of molecular oxygen is created. Plastoquinone QB then transfers the 2 electrons to the cytochrome B6F complex. The 2 protons it picked up are released into the lumen. These transfers are coupled with the pumping of 2 more hydrogen ions into the lumen space by cytochrome B6F. The electrons are next transferred to plastocyanin, another mobile carrier. Next, the electrons are transferred from plastocyanin to the photosystem 1 complex. It is here that photons again energize each electron and propel their transfer to ferredoxin. Ferredoxin then transfers the electrons to the ferredoxin NADP reductase, also known as FNR. After 2 electrons are transferred to FNR, NADPH is made by adding the 2 electrons and a hydrogen ion to NADP. The gradient created by the electron transport chain is utilized by ATP synthase to create ATP from ADP and PI. This is similar to the way ATP is synthesized in the mitochondria. ATP, NADPH, and molecular oxygen are the final vital products of photosynthesis.
So, from today's class, the basic things we learned: light reaction dependent upon presence of sunlight or photons takes place in chloroplast, light, transfer electrons in 4 reactions, and overall reaction: water, breakdown, oxygen, ATP and NADPH, sunlight and chlorophyll. That produces oxygen, chemical energy to fuel for Canfield cycle, ATP and NADPH. So today's homework is write a details about the light dependent phase. Thank you for today attending to this class. Hope you will stay well and stay safe.